Today we dive into the top winners from the Video Game Awards, The Witcher 4 was announced, and why video game adaptation seems to be working lately. All this and more, this is Nerds with Mics. Hello and welcome everyone to episode 165. I'm Travis.
I'm Jared.
And no Justin today. So it's just going to be us. And that's okay. That. Yeah, imagine that. How the turntables have turned. But yeah, so today we have a packed episode for you. Even though it's just Jared and I, we're going to have a great time, have a great conversation. But as always, we always like to start by talking about what we've been up to. So Jared, what have you been up to, sir?
So you and I talked about, I think we got to play a few games the other day. Actually, I know we got to play a few games the other day, but playing a decent bit of Marvel Rivals. So that's definitely been a good time. Gray Zone Warfare, a game that I bought in early access probably a year ago. It's finally gotten its first big major update, and I can already tell you I'm not sure if it's a result of the new graphics card or if it's just some more performance level stuff on their end, but it runs a whole lot better. They added night operations, so you have night vision goggles, IR lasers, stuff like that. So it's definitely been a good time. A little bit of I've got to play Indiana Jones, obviously, which I have a little bit more about to say about it later on in the podcast. But so far, still loving it. Again, probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever played on my PC. And other than that, I've almost finished my rewatch of The Sopranos. Which, Travis, I don't know if you've seen it, but...
Never seen it.
100% worth.
Okay.
100% worth.
Okay.
But really, that's it for me. What about you, Travis?
As like you, work.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mention that part because I felt like I've mentioned that one enough over the past few weeks. But
I came off a 6-day stint, working 6 days in a row. My body feels busted and bruised. I'm also caught up on Silo. Still watching Bob's Burgers. I'm almost to the end of season 13. All caught up on Shrinking. And then also I watched Amazon's Red One, which for what it was pretty good. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but if you're just looking for kind of like a dumb action Christmas movie, it's pretty good. And
oddly, it get terrible reviews. Again, I know we talk about reviews and how much one of the newer Christmas movies got bad reviews. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I think that one had mixed reviews. It actually went to the theaters first. I think it aired in 6,600 theaters. And I had read that it's actually Amazon's largest streaming so far. In 4 days, there was 50 million people that watched the movie. So they broke their debut for streaming for movies, which I thought was pretty cool. Obviously, the cast is huge. You have The Rock, you have Chris Evans, and you have J.K. Simmons, and a couple of other people in there. So the premise of the movie is kind of silly, but overall is decent. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I watched. I played a little bit more of Astrobots, which was one of the big winners from the Game Awards. We'll get into that because we'll talk about what game got more awards than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We'll make sure to get into that. Since Justin's not here to just spit false truths, you know what I mean? But yeah, so
he's gonna hate listening to this episode so much. I can already feel it.
I can't wait to send it over to him so he can preview it before he puts it up, see if he makes any edits. But let's go ahead and get into some recent news. So I know that you have a couple of news stories and I have a couple things to cover as well. So why don't you go ahead and get us started?
So one of my favorite game series, not a massive fan of the TV show, especially the direction it's heading now, but Witcher 4 getting its nice little official announcement at the Game Awards. Which, did you ever play Witcher, Travis?
I've tried to play The Witcher 3 at least 4 or 5 times, and I just couldn't get into it. I think it's the combat I'm just not a huge fan of. But it is a pretty game. But no, I have not really gotten into those games.
I played that game whenever I still had an Xbox, and I am very excited to see where The Witcher 4 goes, especially it'll be the first one I get to play on a PC. So I'm interested to see, because like you said, it is a beautiful game, so I'm interested to see how it turns out graphically on that side of things. Other than that, so I put this one in just for you because I unfortunately have not watched Silo all the way through yet, and I know you told me I should,
First
and I know I
season
need
or
to.
second season?
I think I made it like halfway through the first. I don't think I ever finished it.
Gotcha. Well, you might as
Uh,
well. I mean, I think they're about halfway through, maybe a little. Actually, I think they're about 75% of the way through season 2 right now.
so
So
just wait till I get done with season 2 and then binge the
probably
whole
if you want,
thing.
yeah, if you want to.
Netflix has really ruined us with stuff like that just because they're full season releases where you can just sit and binge
Sure.
it versus a weekly release.
Yep.
But Silo has been renewed for 2 more seasons, and the fourth season will be the final one.
I think
So
that I think that's good. I'm glad they're not trying to stretch it out because
that
honestly,
was what
I
I was
don't
about
know.
to say. I would much rather them. I would rather them take any show and just go ahead and let me know, hey, this is around for another 2 to 5 seasons, whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be one of those things of they could have wrapped it up in 2, but here it is for 8 more seasons because we love that money. So
Yeah. Got to get that money, baby.
money, baby.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would rather know kind of upfront versus them just trying to stretch it out as much as they can because typically, I mean, we saw what happened to, well, not that they didn't have a lack of story, it was more so a lack of trying with the ending of Game of Thrones, but
I don't want to talk about it.
sometimes there's definitely shows that they stretch out farther than they should and you can tell the quality kind of goes downhill. So,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
get that. So for me, I actually just recently watched the new trailer. It came out about 8 hours ago. The new trailer for the Karate Kid Legends, which is going to have Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio in it, which is pretty cool. So I think that's interesting because obviously we know that Ralph is like the original Karate Kid, right? And then we also know that Jackie Chan was in the Karate Kid universe with uh, Will Smith's son, Jaden, right? Um,
Yeah.
now I don't know. Now I don't know necessarily if they're both supposed to be. I don't think he's still the same. I don't think Jackie Chan's character is still the same, but Ralph's is. But I rewatched or I've watched the last 3 seasons of Cobra Kai, but I don't haven't started the newest season, which I think is now complete. But the trailer looks pretty good. It's definitely got action in it, got kung fu, all that good stuff. But it comes out May 30th. The only thing I wasn't sure of and I didn't see is if it's coming to theaters, if it's coming to streaming. A movie like that, I would assume I shouldn't assume is probably coming to streaming if I was guessing, but I don't really know. Um, but the news that I really wanted to talk about is let's get into the Game Awards. Did you have a chance to watch the Game Awards?
Not the full thing. I went back and like obviously the thousands upon thousands of YouTube breakdown videos there are of it. Unfortunately, I was at work while the actual awards were going on, but I did have it set up to get updates on my phone, so like I was getting notifications about who was winning and stuff like that. But I have went back and watched probably half of the trailers so far.
I think for me, that's the biggest reason that I show up to those things or for the announcements and the trailer reveals. And we'll get into a little bit of that here after this. What I wanted to talk about was who some of the big winners were, right? So Astrobot had 4 wins in total, including Game of the Year with 7 nominations. I think I texted Justin and I had said to him, I said, I agree that Astrobot is a great game, but I don't know necessarily if it deserved to win Game of the Year personally. I mean, I love Astrobot, but I don't know if it necessarily, deserved that title, especially with it being like a single player platforming game. I don't know necessarily
I definitely
if it should have.
think more games that deserve that are like your like I don't want to of course make it like seem like I don't care about games like that because obviously they're still fun and some people those are their favorite types of
Mhm.
games. But in
Yeah,
my opinion, it should definitely be like this was a story that people could relate to. This was a story that something that has some stuff behind it aside from being a platformer.
yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, it with everything that Astrobot tries to do, it does great. But I just don't know necessarily if it was Game of the Year worthy. And then the second game was Metaphor Refan T. I can't ever say what that is. It's
Metaphor.
Well, yeah, let's just call it metaphor. They had 3 wins with 6 nominations. This is from the same studio that brings you like the Persona games. Everything I've heard about this game, it's supposedly great. I have not really gotten into the Persona games, so I can't really speak to that. But that won 3 of the 6 awards that it was nominated for, so that was cool. Also, a big winner was Balatro. It won 3 awards with 5 nominations, so that's a big winner. And then we have Black Myth Wukong, which was nominated for 5 and won 2. Then you have Helldivers 2, which was nominated for 4 and won 2. I was really glad to see that studio win some stuff. And then also they had the guy that's at the beginning of the game that's making that big speech. He actually came out on stage dressed as an actual Helldiver and took his helmet off and was like rallying people. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
And
Apparently,
then,
with that update, that update is apparently going crazy.
yeah,
Apparently,
they just announced Aliens. I think that's the third enemy now.
So Helldivers
And
1,
vehicles.
where it was like it was more of a strategy game.
Yeah.
This obviously is more of a third-person shooter. The people have speculated that I think they're called Luminids were coming well before, because apparently that was the faction in Helldivers 1. And in Helldivers 2, the map, there was always an empty piece of space, and that's where these ended up coming from. So that was always the speculation. But apparently it's completely changed like the area you're fighting in, because now you're fighting in cities, because those guys are actually like invading your home worlds and everything else. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but very interested to see what it looks like.
Yeah. And then the last big winner was Hellblade 2. It was up for 4 and it won 2 awards, including the lead actor, which voices Senua, which is cool. One for best performance, which I thought was really neat. But I'll tell you, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that Justin talked about, I think it was on last week's episode, right? It was either
Oh, it
last week's
was.
episode.
It was.
Yeah. That
Actually,
won
I think it
one
was the past
award.
2 episodes, if I'm not
Yeah, it
mistaken.
really was. I didn't even honestly really want to talk about the Game Awards because I feel like we've talked about it so much. But the thing I really wanted to talk about was the announcements. But I had to bring this up because obviously Justin isn't here, and I want him to listen to this, and I want him to stew. I just want him to stew about it. And then when he comes back next week, he's going to say, "Well, if you look at the other Game Awards, you'll see that Final Fantasy, had a clean sweep."
According
That's
to the
what he'll say.
statistics of all the past Game Awards,
Yeah. You know what's funny is one of the awards that Black Myth Wukong won was Player's Choice Award, which was voted on by the players. And Final Fantasy was in that category, I do believe. So I'm just saying. You remember last week when I said, you know what, I can see what critics say, I can see what critics rate it at, but if you look at the player base and what they're saying about the game, it's the complete opposite. And all I'm saying is if it won People's Choice Awards, there might have been some, I don't know, maybe value to what I was saying. I don't know. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. But anyways, uh, but besides that, I wanted to get into the announcements.
the amount of
I want to
angry
go down
text
this list.
messages we're going to get when he listens to this episode.
I know, and I can't wait. Just text me, baby. Anyways, before I go down this list, I do want to ask. Is there anything specifically that you were excited about before I go down this list? Was there like a trailer that stood out to you? I mean, obviously, I saw that you brought the Witcher 4 trailer up. So obviously, that was one of them. That was probably one of the biggest announcements because it's been so long since anything from the Witcher franchise has come outside of the TV show and the Witcher 3. Anything else catch your eye that got you
Uh,
excited?
Biggest thing for me is something I don't even think you have on the list there, but there's kind of 2 of them, right? So for me, Game of Thrones King's Road. I'm interested to see what that looks like. It's
Yeah,
got me nervous, but it's got me excited at the same time.
so one of the things, so I was listening to, I was actually watching the live stream of a buddy of my, well, of some friends of mine's podcast, The Testing Room. I've talked about them plenty enough, but they were actually doing a live stream while it was happening, and I was in there chatting with them. And we were talking about like, with this game, are you just playing like through the highlights of some of the TV stuff? You know what I mean?
Like the Battle of the Wall, or
yeah, like, are they just gonna throw you into all these pivotal points in the show, or is it gonna have, like, its own story? Like, that's kinda my concern because I don't really know necessarily if they talked about the timeline. We obviously know that Jon Snow is still he's on the wall, right? He's a watcher on the wall, right? So, I don't really know necessarily at what time this takes place. I'm really hoping it's not one of those things where every stage they're just throwing you into, like, one of the pivotal points of the show.
yeah,
I want it to be an original thing or like a story that they didn't tell during the show. You know
right.
what I mean?
Other than that, is Splitgate 2 got announced during the Game Awards. I'm not sure if you ever got a chance to play Splitgate,
No, tell
but
me more.
it's if I'm not mistaken, the same one of the teams that did Halo, or some of the developers of Halo that split off and did their own thing. But
Yeah.
it's like a very Halo-esque team shooter that revolves around you using portals to get like flanks on enemies and like traverse a map and stuff like that. So you'll have like different colored walls throughout the map, and you can shoot portals through it, and you can jump through it, and you can shoot through them. So like if you get a portal behind somebody that's hiding behind a wall, you can just shoot them while they're still hiding behind the wall because you shoot them through the portal. But that's
Sounds
a game that I
crazy.
played quite a bit whenever it first came out, and I know that like me, Cannon, Cameron, we all played it. So I would definitely be interested to see what they change with it. But again, it's one of those games that I don't know if they necessarily needed to make another one, because that game was pretty well polished. I feel like they could have just added to it. But if I'm not mistaken, I think it was actually a free game, so I'm not going to complain about them coming out with another one. So
Right. Yeah, it reminds me of like the actual video game, the video game Portal. Um, like if it was a multiplayer game, is very
it's
much what it
the Portal
reminded me of.
system works the same way. It's like Halo meets Portal.
How long has this game been out, or has it been in early access, or it's brand
Split
new?
Splitgate has been out since.
Justin's texting me right now, actually. His ears must have been burning. Um,
Okay, I
yeah,
guess it
but
has
it.
been out. God, that came out in 2019, apparently. Okay,
Oh
never
wow.
mind.
Never mind. So anything else before I go down this list?
No,
Or is
you're
that
good to
the
go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
I am
So
interested to know what Justin's saying. Is he saying keep your mouth shut about Final
no, no,
Fantasy?
no, 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 no. So one thing I was not expecting to see that was not on my bingo card for this year was the return of Turok, which for those of you that know, Turok was I think it started out on Nintendo 64, which is the game obviously where you're hunting dinosaurs and also killing bad guys. But yeah, Turok Origin returns. No release date yet, but they did show some gameplay for that. There was also a video game called Project Robot, which I'm very excited about because Project Robot is from the studio that brought you Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, which are
Ooh.
two of my favorite games. But it looks like essentially like you're getting in like almost like a mech or getting in your own Colossus to fight other Colossuses, which looks pretty wild. So I'm pretty excited about that. Also, one of my other franchises that I used to love back in the day, it was when like Resident Evil was really big and also Devil May Cry, but there was a game called Animushu, which was you're a samurai, but it was kind of like the hack and slash style of like Devil May Cry. But they're actually making a comeback with Animushu Way of the Sword, and it's supposedly coming out in 2026. Yeah, I did have Game of Thrones on here. Game of Thrones King's Road, but in my notes I have coming to mobile in 2025.
Wait,
Was
is
that a
it not
mobile
a?
game?
Was it a mobile game? If I could, I retract my statement. I'm not excited
Well,
anymore.
while you're
Hold on.
looking that up, I'll continue to go down the list. So they also announced that Clive from Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a new character in Tekken 8, which I think is pretty wild. That was an announcement that I don't think a whole lot of people were expecting. Um, and then also there was a game back on PS2 called Ōkami, which was very much a Zelda-like game, but you played as a dog. And your abilities were you would paint like different Japanese calligraphy would be your abilities, and it's actually it was back on PS2, but they're coming out with a sequel. No date or anything. Did you figure anything out about Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I retract my statement. I'm no longer excited.
Is it a
That
mobile
hurts.
game?
It is a mobile game, and that hurts. That fills me with pain.
Yeah, I didn't. I was gonna let you talk about it, knowing that I was gonna bust your bubble, and I apologize.
Hate you.
I love
Hate
you.
you.
There's also
If
from
you loved me, you
the
wouldn't do that.
same from the same developer that brought you It Takes Two, which is a phenomenal co-op game, and then also what's the game where you're both trying to escape from prison? Is it No Way
Uh,
Out?
I think so. I'll fact check you on
Anyways,
that while you're going
from
through it.
yeah, from that same developer, they announced a new game, which this guy has very much major bro energy. He got on stage and was cussing and all kinds of stuff.
A way out.
Um, yeah, so Split Fiction is the name of this co-op game, but it is very much in the same vein as It Takes Two. But what's really cool about it is you're playing two different characters. Who would have thought by saying Split Fiction? But you're jumping through different realities. One of the characters is fantasy based and the other is sci-fi based. So as you're playing through stages, you're switching between worlds and your whole environment changes, which seems pretty cool. Something that I'm semi excited about is Borderlands 4. I loved Borderlands 2. I don't think I actually played Borderlands 3 that much at all. But Borderlands 4 looks pretty good. Plus, I think it's the first technically next gen I think it's the first next gen Borderlands game we've gotten on PS5, is it not? I think. I can't
Yeah.
remember. I can't
I think
remember
it.
because PS3 or Borderlands 3, I think was on both. I think it was on. I think they did like a dual release or something. And then Justin will be happy to hear this. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth hits PC in 2025. So maybe I'll play it when it hits PC. Who knows?
Borderlands would be one of those games I'd be interested to get into just because when Borderlands 3 came out, I kind of got into it late to the party and everybody was already so far ahead of me that I never really
That's the
got
same
to.
thing for me. I would absolutely go back and play it if I had. I struggle to play that game by myself because it's so much funner with somebody else. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So we might have to get on the PC release of that and check it out, bros. I also want to play through Winter Wonderland, or not Winter Wonderland, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, I think, because that is
I never
like D
played
and
that
D
one either.
version. It's like D&D version essentially, and that will
Yep.
be fun. Um, and then also we talked about Witcher 4, but the game on this entire list I'm probably most excited about, and I don't want to fanboy out, but Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. This is made by Naughty Dog and also Neil Druckmann, which is who brought you the Last of Us series. This is their new game. It's sci-fi based, where you play a bounty hunter essentially. And it looks very neon and 80s and even has like an 80s soundtrack, and it looks pretty cool. They didn't really release a whole lot about the story itself, but from what the trailer they showed, it looks pretty cool. So, and then the last thing, which I thought was pretty interesting, is another another announcement from the studio that brought you Elden Ring, and it's called Elden Ring Night Rain. And this is an actual online co-op multiplayer spinoff. It kind of reminds me of Elden Ring meets Monster Hunter. I don't know if you had a chance to see the trailer for that new Elden Ring thing, but it looks interesting.
I think I saw like clips of it. I don't think I ever actually went back and watched the full
Yeah,
thing. But
but it's a little different than versus like regular Elden Ring, where like if you need help with a fight, you can bring somebody in to help you, and then they leave your world. This is a full-on online co-op multiplayer Elden Ring spinoff that, like I said, is kind of like the fighting style mechanics and everything and classes of Elden Ring, but it looks like you're fighting like big bosses and big beasts and stuff like that, kind of like you would in Monster Hunter. So I'm kind of curious of what that's going to be like. Um, Also makes me wonder if it's going to turn into like an online service game. I don't know. But
I
yeah,
mean, if it's
so that
anything like Monster Hunter, it might. So
yeah, that is true. That is true. But one of the things I forgot to mention about so one of the awards or one of the categories was for best video game adaptation, right? And I think that the two that were the big the big winner, well, the ones that were competing was Arcane, which is obviously a video game adaptation of League of Legends, I believe,
Yep.
and then Fallout. Those were the two big ones in that category. And turns out Fallout won, which I thought was really, really cool. I was kind of sad that Walton Goggins wasn't there. I was kind of sad about that, but he's off probably filming Righteous Gemstones season, what at this point, 4, I know he just finished filming White Lotus on HBO. But so with that being said, with the success of obviously the film adaptation of Last of Us, also Fallout, also Arcane, Super Mario Brothers movie was really well received and actually broke some box office records. And I think, that movie honestly kind of redefined how Hollywood feels about gaming IPs because it did so well. It makes me ask the question, like, why are these adaptations succeeding now compared to past failures when you think about some of the old video game movies that didn't do so well, right? Like when you think about like the original Mario Brothers movie,
Or
or you
Doom.
think of or Doom, or you think about the Monster Hunter movie, which is awful. There's so many, or really the Tomb Raider adaptations haven't been great. I haven't watched the new animated one, but the film ones weren't that great. The list goes on and on. So I really just wanted to talk about, like, why do you think things seem to be working now? Do you think it was because when I think about the two big ones, I think that were big first is you have the Super Mario Brothers movie and you have The Last of Us. Those seem to be the ones that like really did well, right? Like before all these other ones started to come.
I mean, think about like Ready Player One though too. I mean, if we're talking,
Well, yes, that was just
I guess it's not
a
a
feast
straight
for
up
your eyes
IP.
of
Yeah,
like, well, I mean, there
pop
were
culture.
IPs, but it was a eye candy for pop culture and nostalgia. Which I was really hoping that we were going to get a second one, which I think we're supposed to, but I don't know any details.
And I mean, I definitely think that one part of it has been though too is so Doom, for example, or the old Super Mario Brothers. Like, it definitely seems like the hope was for a money grab there. And I mean, obviously, any movie's goal is to make money, right? But
Yeah.
they're definitely putting more budget into stuff now than what they did because you can tell like Doom definitely a lower budget movie. Original Super Mario Brothers definitely a lower budget movie. I just think now it's getting to a point that one, more is going into it, but then two, I think that there's a much wider audience for video games in general now. So I think that that's able to draw a lot more people in just because there's such a more broad audience to bring them into the theaters to watch that movie or stream it in the case of Arcane or
Yeah,
Last of
I
Us or
agree.
Fallout.
Yeah, so they had like a Blood Rain movie, which did not do well. I will say, I feel like the latest Mortal Kombat movie was good. I feel
I
like,
liked it.
I mean, not to the same degree as all these other movies that we talked about, but it definitely was better than some of the ones before it. I actually like the old '90s Mortal Kombat movies, but that's more for a nostalgia piece. They're not great movies, but I do like them. But also the Prince of Persia movie with Jake Gyllenhaal was
I
not good
forgot
either.
about, yeah.
And then also the Assassin's Creed movie with Michael Fassbender was also not good.
I wanted it to be good. It was not.
Yeah, I agree. Because that franchise has, I mean, story wise, has a lot they could really do with like a film franchise, but it was just not good. Once again, cash grab. I think that's the problem with like a lot of these movies that haven't done well. It's like they think that they can just ride on the fact that people care about these franchises and that they're going to come out in droves to watch these movies, right? But I think when it comes to like why they're succeeding so well now, I think we're getting a few people that really care about how that IP is taken care of. Like when I think about the people that did The Last of Us, you had Neil Druckmann, which is obviously the guy that did uh The Last of Us games. And then you also had the other director, which did one of the best, if not the best, miniseries on television with Chernobyl. You get those two guys in a room and put them together, right? You have the one guy that wrote the story for the games, and then you have this director that's amazing. and the director was a huge fan of the games, and the director of the games was a huge fan of the Chernobyl show, right? Like, I feel like it's about pairing the people up that are responsible for these IPs with somebody that's also a talented director. You know what I mean? Because
And like,
you have somebody safeguarding the material of those IPs, but you have somebody else that knows how to bring those characters to life on something that's not a video game. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, two is kind of to go with what you're saying is, I mean, we talk about Doom and we talked about Super Mario Brothers. Neither of those games, at least whenever the movies were made, had a story much behind, or very much of a story behind it. There might have been a couple of things here there, and they were just trying to force a movie out to, like you said, to get people to show up in droves and buy tickets.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. Is now you have people who devoted good portions of their lives to writing these games, making sure they came out perfect, and then seeing a player base develop and seeing people who actually love these games who now feel, one, they're in love with it, they're invested to it, but then two, as I feel as part of it, is they probably feel as if they owe it to fans for all the support that showed up for them throughout the game to make sure they get a show or a movie that accurately represents what it should be.
Yeah, I think too the big thing is if you notice a lot of the ones that are successful outside of Mario, because Mario was a movie, all these other ones are TV shows. And I think the fact that you can expand upon a story that was in a video game and have to be able to do that over a season, as opposed to taking, a game that maybe you put 40 hours into and trying to get that into a 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie, I think is challenging. And there's cuts and quality things that have to be made in order to get that done. But if you can tell that story and expand upon it across, 10 to 12 episodes, then I think that's what can make it more of a compelling experience. With Fallout, with Last of Us, with Arcane.
I mean, think if we would have gotten Assassin's Creed in small screen format versus big screen, just going from, like
Yeah,
you said, a 2 hour format to now we're having, so you're either in the simulation or you're out of it, right? So
yeah,
it'd
and you
be
could have
open
did
up a.
that. You could have wove that out in and out throughout the entire season, and then
Mm-hmm.
next season you could have been in a completely different time period,
Mm-hmm.
and you could even switch up the cast that way. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
think
So
about, spoiler alert for Fallout, but at this point, I hope everybody listening has seen Fallout. But they teased New Vegas at the end of Fallout, so I just want you to imagine, Travis, as we get to the end of the first season of Assassin's Creed, and all of a sudden, it cuts to like a pirate ship coming out of the fog or something like that.
don't tease me.
If you want people to watch a show, that's how you get people to watch a show right there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm still holding out that we get a Black Flag remastered. That's the only
Uh,
Assassin's Creed game I'd go back for,
I
honestly.
tried to go back and replay it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It just
I
did
need to
not
look
hold
and
up to the test of time.
I need to look and see if there's any good texture mods for that game, honestly.
If
It
you
might
find
help.
it, you let me know.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. I think it's all about the medium in which they're trying to do these adaptations. I think some stuff can be adapted to film, but there's certain things that you need to expand upon the story, and those need to be either in a mini series or some sort of limited TV run, I would say. Um, Mario, I think, is the exception. I feel like animated is a little easier to do on film, because the story wasn't as grand scale as some of the other things that's come to TV shows. You know what I mean? Um, I think it also begs the question: is there anything else you want to add before I ask this next question?
Uh, One last thing I'll say about that is I'm glad you mentioned miniseries and full-on series, just because what HBO can do with a miniseries, they have proved time and time again that they
Yeah.
can blow it out of the water. I mean, Chernobyl, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, and they can
Eh,
make it
What's
move the
the
right
Apple
direction.
TV one? That's the Air Squadron people.
Oh, Masters of the Air.
I heard it's great. I've not seen it. Have you
So
watched it?
that was yes. I've watched it all the way through. It was, so definitely it, Band of Brothers, Pacific, Master of the Air would be the way that I would give the like one, two, three.
Yeah.
Um it was still directed by, if I'm not mistaken, directed by Tom Hanks, who was also involved with the Pacific and Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if that was meant to be HBO at first, and then
Oh, and
they
then they just
decided
bought it
against
up.
it. Right.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean,
Maybe.
it's definitely worth the watch if you've got time to sit around and watch an episode here or there, it's definitely worth it.
Okay.
It's
Well,
beautiful show. I'll give it
yeah,
that. Just
I've heard
the
visually it's amazing, and
Yep.
I bet you the sound on that show is incredible too.
It really is, especially so like we have the surround sound bar in our living room. So listening to that and just whenever they get into a aerial combat fight over Germany and you have machine guns going off all around you, the props of the plane, their stuff blown up, it sounds and looks amazing.
That's awesome. Um, so I guess it begs the question: what games do you think deserve to be have an adaptation done next, and how do you think they should approach it? Like, I guess we could talk about like what medium, what medium you think they should do for that would be a good place to start. I'm trying to think of what franchise I would like to see done.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see a Red Dead TV show.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
That would be a very good one.
That'd
We
be a
just
good one,
need
but
the gritty Western, make you cry at the same time kind of
you
thing.
do, but you also need those characters that are just absurd, like the Trevors and like
Yep.
you know what I mean? Because even in Red Dead, there's those type of characters. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
They're not the main character or a character you can play, but there's definitely characters like that are side characters.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, Red Dead's a good one. I'm on it. I'm not saying I want this, but what I'm saying is I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Is some sort of Call of Duty show of some kind, like a warfare show of some kind. I'm really surprised that hasn't happened yet.
I mean,
Um,
they could
for
definitely
me,
do it, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, for me, I would have to say I would love to see. I would think this would have to be It wouldn't be a mini series. It'd have to be a season show, maybe 3 seasons, 4 seasons. But I would love to see. And I may have mentioned this before. I would love to see a Mass Effect adaptation. I think that would be really awesome. The thing about that game though is like it's your consequences and the way that everything unfolds by the end of the game based on the choices you've made. That's what makes
butterfly
those
effect.
games. Yeah, that's what makes those games so good. So I don't know if you'd be able to carry the same weight in a show. Um, they could make it like Bender Snatch, where as you're playing,
That's what I was
walking
about
through
to
the
say.
season, you can make choices. That'd be really cool. Trying to think of what else. What other? Nothing Borderlands related because that they proved that's not a great idea.
Yeah,
Uh, Honestly, when you had mentioned Assassin's Creed, like I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, but it could make for a really cool show because like you said, you can go in the
you can go
simulation,
anywhere.
out of the simulation, you could have different characters and cast for each season because you could keep the people outside the simulations the same characters, but the people inside the simulations you could recast every season if they're somewhere else.
Well, right, because you could have a House of Cards politic esque on the outside because if you've ever played the games, then you know what's going on the outside.
Yeah.
But then you could have just a history like fighting like trying to think of the word, but just like a combat kind of showstopper for everything throughout the rest of that. And if that would have to be done in full seasons. I definitely don't think you could do like a mini series on that. Um,
No.
Speaking of like TV adaptations, I mean, did you watch the Pac-Man episode of Secret Level
Not
yet?
yet. I'm actually going to try to watch some more Secret Level tonight. I only got through the first 2, I think.
Second half is out now too, so sorry to go
Okay,
off
yeah,
track, but
I saw that. Yeah.
let me
No,
know
that's
when you
good.
watch the
That's good. I
Pac-Man
actually
episode.
almost added that in the adaptation, but where I hadn't watched it yet, I was a little worried to bring it up because I did watch the Sifu one. I watched that
Yep,
one. I watched the very first one, and then I started to watch the Warhammer one, but I didn't finish it yet.
Warhammer one, and it's
The Dungeons and Dragon ones was awesome.
the Dungeons and Dragons one is very good. The Warhammer one's probably my favorite, not even because I just love Warhammer.
Yeah.
And that is just like it's all combat fanfare for the Warhammer franchise is what that is. And what I can tell you right now is if the Henry Cavill show that they're working on for Warhammer is anything close to what that was, it will be perfect.
Yeah. The last thing that I'll mention that I think would be a good one is if they could get the guy to come back from Chernobyl and do a Metro 2033 show,
Ooh,
or if they did a Stalker series and had him do it.
that would be
But
both of those would be very good.
yeah, But just because the work he did on Chernobyl, I just feel like would fit Metro so well. You know what I mean?
The story with Metro is just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost said it'd be cool if they did a Medal of Honor series, but they did. It's called Band of Brothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any other ones that you were thinking of?
I mean, I'm sure I'll think of stuff more like as we go through, but that's the thing is there's a lot of like I don't think that this is kind of the caveat to that. Like I don't think everything needs
No.
a TV show. And that's what I worry about is if we start having like these studios start having a lot of success with these, that it gets to a point that everything starts to become.
Yeah. Because I wasn't a big fan of the Halo adaptation. I know some of the popular ones that people are wanting. I'll just go down this list real quick and then we'll move on. But supposedly there's actually one coming, but I'm not going to hold my breath because I've heard that for years. Is a Legends of Zelda live action. Um, that also a Metroid one, which I don't know. I think if they left it animated, could be cool. I know some people are saying they'd like to see a live action and have Brie Larson be Samus. I don't know how I feel about that. Um, Red Dead Redemption was on this list, so go you. Fallout obviously has already been done. Also, Cyberpunk 2077 is on here, and that could be kind of cool because it's very like future dystopia type
Hey,
thing.
listen, I never got to play it, so at least I'd be able to watch it.
Yeah, and supposedly Amazon is working on a God of War adaptation.
I've
Not
heard
sure if
that for
that's
a while too.
not sure if that's going to be any good. I'm kind of curious of who they're going to get as Kratos because if it's Jason Momoa, I will riot. Um,
It'll be
so
The
we'll
Rock.
see. I'll tell you another one that I just thought of, and well, there's two that I just thought of that I forgot to mention. Is I would love to see. It would probably have to be a mini series, maybe no more than 3 seasons, but I would love to see a Metal Gear Solid adaptation of some kind. I mean, because if you think about it, their games have so many full length movies inside of them, anyways.
Yeah,
But I would love to see that because even in the games, they jump through different time periods. You know what I mean? So that would be kind of cool to see. And then also the last one that I think would be cool if done well is um, a BioShock one
that's a good call as well.
because BioShock always has like this underlying like kind of like political tone as well that's going
Weren't
on.
we supposed to get a Bioshock TV show
Oh, I don't
before?
know. Yeah, I don't know.
Let me
But
see.
yeah, those are the
Oh,
only other.
there's a movie adaptation.
Is it out or is it working on it?
July. Hey, posted on my birthday this year. Netflix's film adaptation of Bioshock with director Francis Lawrence is being reconfigured with a reduced budget.
Mm, sounds like that's off to a great start, huh?
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, that does it for that topic. However, even though Justin's not here, that
He's
doesn't mean that we can't get into a mystery question of the week. So, Jared, I'm going to ask you random number between 1 and 60. Do not say 60. Do not say 59, or I will come there and I will punch you.
So wait,
And
you're
don't
saying if
say
I say it, I get to see you in person?
you already see me. Look, I'm right here.
One.
Oh, okay. I feel like we've asked this question before. So I'm going to ask you, and if you think I've asked it before, then we don't need to answer it because I'm pretty sure we have. What's a game you wish you could erase from your memory so you could play it again for the first time? I feel like we've had this conversation.
I don't know if we've had this one or not. I remember.
I think we did when we were talking about nostalgia, maybe,
Oh,
possibly.
we probably did. We probably did. You're right because we asked the same thing about movies too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like we could experience them for the first time. So give me one
Interstellar
more.
is my answer to
Oh, did you
movies.
see it's coming back to theaters?
It's already been back.
Did you go see it?
No, Canon went and watched it in New York, 70 millimeter IMAX.
Was he just so happened to be there or he went there
No,
specifically
he
for that?
drove from here to there to watch that movie
I
on
would have.
IMAX. I would.
The closest I can get is 60 millimeter, unfortunately. But you know,
If it wasn't this time of the year, our
Yeah.
Super Bowl, I probably would have taken time off to go
Oh,
see it. To be honest
you
with
know
you.
what's funny is my girlfriend refuses to watch that movie
Well,
because space scares her. So,
does she
yeah,
listen to the podcast?
she does. She'll hear this and she'll give me shit about it, but yeah.
You're wrong. Watch the movie.
Yeah, it's so good. It's
It's
so good.
it's
They're
it's
doing
one of the best movies.
so they're doing this thing here where the symphony is playing by candlelight. Like the whole place is just candlelight and they're doing all of Hans Zimmer's like top things and like there's a few from Interstellar and
Nice.
I want to go to that so
You
bad.
need to go. Didn't you go to the Game of Thrones orchestra?
I did and it was
Yeah,
awesome.
very jealous of that as well.
All right, well give me another number I guess then.
25.
25. Ooh, this is a good one. What classic game do you think is overrated and why? This could be a time for a hot take, baby.
Oh
I'm
man,
trying to think myself. What
I'm
do
just
I
gonna look
think?
up a list of classic games and see.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, man, because this will get me in some hot water. I don't know, man. Let me see.
So I mean, my thing is, I no offense to you, Travis. Well, it says classic games, but I'm a youngin.
I mean, that's fair. Just do it based off what you think. I when I think classic, I'm trying to think of like what is considered classic to me because like when I look on here, some classic like they have Minecraft on here. I wouldn't consider that a classic game, even though it's been around for what feels like forever. Um, dang, I don't know. I feel like I asked a bad question because we don't have an answer.
We're bad at this.
I know.
I mean,
For
honestly, man,
me,
if I had to pick one, probably so calm. Kidding, Justin. Sorry.
I honestly, this is gonna be a hot take, and I'm probably gonna offend a lot of people. But this isn't so much a classic game. This is more of a franchise. So I don't even know if this answer counts. No, the answer doesn't count because I used to enjoy the older ones, the older Call of Duty games, but I'm not a fan of the Call of Duty franchise.
That's that's fair. I was
I
they were losing me until this year. This year's pretty good.
once they got out of like old school warfare, that's when I like kind of dropped off. I don't know why, I just did.
You don't like the jumping around and
No. Um,
I don't know what would be considered. Oh God, this was a bad question. We're losing it, Travis.
I know. I honestly, for me, I'll have to say probably. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. This is uh this is hard because I'm trying to think of like what old franchises like. Oh, I know one. Never mind. I have one. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Tetris. I have never cared for Tetris. I know that it was big in its day, but I was never a Tetris fan. And
I
that
mean,
is a super classic game.
I guess the thing is like
Oh no,
Tetris is.
also, I think because I also missed it, I'm also gonna and this is definitely a hot take, but Pokemon. Never played any of the Pokemon games. And I could
That
care less.
I'm not gonna use that answer, but I also agree with that because I have tried and tried and tried and tried to get into a few Pokemon games, and it does not happen. I
Yeah,
cannot get into them to save my life.
yeah, I would agree. Yeah, so that's my answer. Pokemon and Tetris are my two answers. So now you're just gonna have to struggle to find your own.
I mean, Pokemon is a very good call, so I agree with that one again. But again, I'm gonna try to give my own answer. Uh, I would have said Final Fantasy, but Justin's kind of got me started on the new ones. I'm not gonna lie there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, really, the only thing I could think to go to that I consider a classic is I am not a fan of the Silent Hill games.
Oh, that's fair. That's
And
fair.
it's just because, like, it's not the fact that it's a scary game, because don't get me wrong, I still enjoy like Resident Evil and stuff like that. I don't know what it is about the Silent Hill games, and maybe it would change if I went back and played the Silent Hill 2 remaster just with the updated graphics and such, but I have tried to get into those games and I cannot do it. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that would change it, but I'm also not prepared to spend $70 to figure out if that's going to change my opinion or not.
I was also not a big fan of GTA 4. I'll say that.
I was too young to play GTA 4.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
You
Well,
ready
that
for
was the
GTA
mystery.
6 online in 3 years whenever it comes out finally for us, though?
I may be dead by then. Who knows?
I might kill you by then. What?
Oh gosh. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into. Speaking of which, speaking of killing me, let's go ahead and get into looking ahead. So, I'll go ahead and kick us off. So, for me, I'm looking forward to my girlfriend coming home. She has been in Montana since last Monday. She'll be there a total of 11 days. She comes home this Thursday. So, looking forward to that. Looking forward to Christmas. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go home and spend time with my family, but I'll be trying to do that after Christmas.
Or
But
me. Won't be able to spend time
yeah,
with me
or
and
you.
Justin
Sorry.
either.
I know, but I will be spending Christmas and Christmas Eve and Christmas with my girlfriend's family, so I'm very excited for that. Um, Also excited to try to. I would like to try to play some more Rivals. I still haven't got to play since you and I played, so I'd like to try to do that. I want to. I'm very close to beating Black Myth Wukong and also Astrobot, so I'd like to try to finish both of those. That way, I can move on to Indiana Jones because I'm really excited for that game. But yeah, other than that, that's what I am being, what I'm looking forward to. What about you, my dude?
So obviously Christmas coming up. Super excited for that. Get to
Merry
see some
Chrysler.
family. Merry Crisis. I do want to reinstall Helldivers, play some of it since the DLC or the update came out for it. Um, as Travis mentioned earlier, got him started on Rivals. I am looking forward to playing that some more. And Justin has mentioned this in our group message, and I'm hoping we can all get our schedules to work out again this week so we can actually
I
stream a
know.
little bit, because I would love to stream. And I can tell you right now, if we finally get to start this BG3 playthrough,
I say we do
we
that since we're so close to the end of the year. I say that's something we start at the new year.
well, we need to wait, because remember the new classes are coming out too, so we
Oh,
probably
that's
want to
right.
wait till that
I just meant as
update.
far as getting our schedules down to string because after the holidays,
Yes.
we should be able to easily do that.
But yeah, hopefully get a stream some this week, because I know I do enjoy it when we get a stream with these guys. I mean, especially since what'd you do to me last time, Travis?
I
What
think
what ha-
no, you yoinked me off. I
Oh,
didn't do
that's what it
anything to
was.
you.
That's
You
right.
yoinked me off.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Get it straight. I'm not the one doing the yoinking. I'm getting yoinked.
Then, as Travis mentioned as well, I want to play some more Indiana Jones, because again, that game is just. I can tell you right now is the for the story gameplay, it is listed as 12 hours. It's going to take me much longer than 12 hours to finish that game.
Just because you're
Um,
looking around and exploring or what?
I'm looking at everything around, and plus, one thing. Have you played it all yet, Travis?
Yeah, I played to the point where you fight the giant, you pack your suitcase and you leave. I just haven't did the part I haven't started where I got to, but that's it.
Gotcha. So one thing that is not really a spoiler, just kind of a game mechanic thing. So one thing that always really bothers me about puzzle games is when they just, if you're standing in the same area for too long, it just randomly gives you a hint and says, "Oh, go try this,"
Yeah.
right? Indiana Jones doesn't do that. So you have to actually, so there's going to be a point where you get a camera to complete one of your quests, and you get to keep that camera with you. They use that as your way to get hints, because when you snap a picture of something, Indiana Jones will say something in the game of like, "Oh, maybe I should try this," and that
Oh,
is your
that's
hint for
cool.
the. So it doesn't automatically give you hints. It's not going to force you into getting help from the game. And even when you do take a hint, it is still not just like a random pop up on your screen that says, "Oh, go here and do this." It's actually just in your character thinking.
I wish you knew how to take a hint. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it is a very pretty game. I can't I can't imagine what it looks like having a newer graphics card. I mean, because it looks even good playing on my 2080 Ti, but I imagine it looks really good playing on your graphics card. So
Because that was I had a 3070, and I could have played it, but I watched some YouTube videos of what it could be, and that's what made me go get another graphics card. Speaking of graphics card, did you ever get yours, Travis, or get one
Nope,
ordered?
not yet. I think at this point, I'm just gonna wait till the end of the end of the year. Also, I wanna make sure that I call this out, that last week, I do believe you were calling Indiana Jones the Golden Circle, and it's the Great Circle.
Oh, did I call it the Golden
I
Circle?
think so. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember thinking that last week.
I probably did say it in all
Because I
honesty.
remember
The
because I
Great
remember
Circle.
Justin saying golden shower, and he wouldn't have said that if you weren't saying golden circle. So
Ah, that is true. I did type that in I think what it was, I think he had Golden Circle typed in his notes and I changed it to Golden Shower and then just didn't think about it after that point.
yeah. So evidently they just did an update for Indiana Jones that fixed a couple issues where it fixed the issue where players were unable to equip Indy's whip. There was an issue, I guess, where players may end up with Indy's camera permanently equipped. And then a couple of other things. And it
They
also
didn't
looks
fix the
like,
third person glitch, did they?
well, they did graphics where it says that they fixed it to prevent double vision getting stuck on the screen when Indy has almost drowned to players who have already encountered that issue. Yeah, and then also I guess they did some stuff to help reduce stuttering during cutscenes. There's a whole slew of updates, a ton of stuff. So it looks like a lot of stuff's going to be fixed.
That's been the biggest gripe that I've seen from anybody on that game is that there's no third person.
Yeah.
Apparently somebody found a way just to bug out the game and lock yourself in third person and be able to play completely like normal. So,
How do you like that it switches between the two?
what do you mean?
Like, because when you whip and you go to swing, it switches into third person, doesn't it?
Oh, like when you're climbing, it really doesn't bother me. I mean, a game like that, I would think I would definitely rather play in third person, but I mean, I can deal with it. So
I feel like the gunplay and the hand to hand combat though would not feel as cool if you weren't in first person.
that's fair. I
But
and
having a button you can just click on your analog stick or something to switch between cameras. But I get it. Like they also probably wanted to try to do something to separate their gameplay away from like Uncharted. Because if you really think
yeah,
about Uncharted, that's an Indiana Jones game. You're just playing Nathan Drake. Let's be honest. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So
Also, since you finally got to play it, what do you think about that sound design with
for
the
you talk about
Indiana
for Indiana
Jones,
Jones, it's pretty
the
good.
the punch sound effects of like the
Yeah, I was
same ones
playing
for the
on.
movie?
Yeah, so I actually have a sound bar on my desk that actually has Dolby Atmos. So that's what I was playing through when I played it, and it sounded awesome.
Nice.
Um, all right, well, let's go ahead and get into our picks of the week. It's hard to believe we're already towards the end of the episode, and we were able to stretch it out this long. This long. Yeah, so for picks of the week, what do you got, good sir?
So for me, it's a game that I've played for a long time back whenever I still had like the crappiest laptop you can think of that barely managed to run this and almost killed it. But it's a game I played forever, kind of stopped playing it. Now I'm starting to play it again. Free to play game called War Thunder. It's
You
just,
used to
I
play that all the time, I feel like.
used to play it all the time. And like, I'm just a big history nerd. So having a game that just lets you, all it is, it's a historical vehicle game, is all it is. You research through a tech tree, you get new vehicles, you make a lineup, you go in, you fight another team, you die, you go back, you restart it. And that's all it is. And I don't know why I enjoy it. It's probably just a history buff within me, but that's my pick of the week just because it's something I'm starting to get back into. Probably would have picked Rivals again, but I picked that last week, so I just don't want to pick the same thing again. So,
Yeah, that's fair. I don't blame you. So one of the games that I've recently went back and started to replay that came out a while back, but I didn't ever have it as a pick of the week. But because of a recent purchase and graphical upgrades to certain games, I've been revisiting games that I played once before. So I went back and checked out. Do you like racing games at all, or are you not a big racing game fan?
I do like racing games.
So the Crew Motorsport, or Motorfest, yeah, the Crew Motorfest, which is Ubisoft's racing game. Uh, it's very much like a Horizon, but the difference is you can either drive by car, you can fly by plane, or you can also be in a boat, and you can switch to them at any point in time. So if you're like flying your plane, you could switch to a car and you'll just drop down, you'll just start driving. But
That's
it's very
wild.
much done like a Horizon game. and they have different races for different like vehicles. So you can do a race where you're solely flying in a plane. You can also do races where you do all three, where you'll start out driving, then you'll switch to being in a boat, and then you'll end the race in a plane. And it's open world too. So like it takes place, I think, on the island of Hawaii. And it all feels like it's real miles. And I'm a sucker for, this is probably a weird thing to say, but I'm a sucker for like in a good in-game photo mode. And theirs is really, really good.
Is it better
But
than the
yeah,
Spider-Man in-game photo mode though?
it's pretty close. It's pretty close because you can change the time of day, you can change the weather, you can change the direction the sun's setting, everything to get like the perfect shot of your car. It's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, that's probably my pick of the week because I'm going back and revisiting. Obviously, it's got some upgrades done to it via gameplay, graphics, and stuff. But I just forgot how fun of a racing game that is, and I haven't played a racing game in quite some time. So if you could ever and it's also online multiplayer. So if you can ever catch the Crew Motorfest on sale, um, I didn't really want to give it a chance when it first came out because I'm like, oh, it's another Ubisoft racing game. Not a huge fan, but I'm not going to say it's as good as Horizon because Horizon like sets the bar pretty high, but it's close. It's close just because the difference in like being able to have different vehicles outside of just cars is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Plus, the environment's real pretty. But outside of that, yeah, that is my pick of the week. Is there anything that you would like to add before we close out at all? Because I think we're going to have to say, because I'm thinking, because next week's Christmas, so we're going to have to figure out if we can record before Christmas or we're going to end up recording after Christmas. Because I think Christmas Eve's on a Tuesday, I think. And Christmas
That would
is on
be
a
correct.
Wednesday.
I will not be able
So
to
we got-
record Christmas Eve then.
Yeah, so we're going to have to figure that out. I don't know if I can record Christmas Eve because I'll be in the mountains. So we might have to try to record Monday if we can.
What
If
about
we can.
Friday? What if we did post-Christmas recording?
Yeah. So, but anyways, I say all that to say if we don't get to talk to you before Christmas, I hope that everybody has a great Christmas spending time with your family and friends. I hope that you get time to relax and unwind, and you have a great time going into the new year. We'll definitely talk to you before the new year. But yeah, we're going to have to figure our schedules out for that. Anything you'd like to add, Jared?
Really the biggest thing for me is I said something similar along Thanksgiving's, but whenever Thanksgiving was coming around, but everybody just enjoy your family if somebody's out there, or it doesn't have to necessarily be family if that opportunity doesn't afford itself to you, but go out and enjoy time with somebody you love, somebody who loves you, and just have some happy holidays and have a great time.
Yeah. And did we talk last week? Sorry, go ahead and finish your point, but I don't know if we talked about our favorite Christmas traditions. Did we talk about that last week?
I don't remember.
I don't think we did. But do you have any favorite Christmas traditions? Like anything that you like to do? I know we talked about Halloween traditions and
that I
talking about
know.
those
I mean,
things.
for me, it's just Christmas lights and getting to see family is really the biggest thing for me because I have a rather large family and then some other stuff that affects how many Christmases I have to go through on a given year.
Yeah.
But so I have one I go to on Christmas Eve, and then no, sorry, I have two Christmases I attend on Christmas Eve, and then two I attend, one with my family and one with my in-laws on Christmas Day. So,
Yeah.
but just getting to see everybody and just everybody's in a good mood. I have to wake up way too early, considering it's one of my days off, and I don't like it. But it's still Christmas. I enjoy seeing everybody. So
Yeah, absolutely. Mine is definitely also Christmas lights and just spending time with family and friends. Like those are my two biggest things. I love going like to a neighborhood or to like a park or something where all the lights are done up. It just gives me like this feeling like I'm a kid again. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
really cool. It's hard to enjoy Christmas for me personally though when there's no snow. And I don't down here in Atlanta, we very rarely get snow. Maybe there'll be a Christmas miracle and there'll be snow when I'm in the mountains, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. So
we got a little bit last week, and it was gone within 2 days. So
and it's been warm up there today, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it was 65 down here. No, 68. Yeah, in the middle of December, which is a hot take. We'll just say that. But
your little
anyways,
Appalachian body can't handle it.
that's right. I know. Well, once again, hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, and we'll make sure that we either talk to you before or after Christmas. So stay tuned and feel free to drop a comment below and share with us what your favorite Christmas memory or tradition is. Until next time, peace. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Nerds with Mics. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into all things nerdy, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please make sure not to forget to leave us a review wherever you listen or watch. Your feedback always helps us grow. And if you know a fellow nerd that would love the show, share it with them. Until next time, stay nerdy, stay awesome, and keep those mics on.